husband is self-employed, and I've always worked for other people. And watching him, I thought, I can do this. I make soaps with the milk from my own goats, and it works. And people find out about it, and they want it. So the business had to grow.
We actually started out in Austin, Texas. My sister came to visit me. It was so hot. She decided to sew a pair of shorts, actually. And then I came home from work and was like, wow, that's amazing. We're not doing anything. You're gonna have to show me how to do this. And then both of us kind of combined our forces and our skills, and before you knew it, here we are, twin denim.
Through the years, just making sauce for our family. So I had a lot of requests from family members, friends, when are you gonna market it? So anyway, it's just been a great sauce. And so about 2 years ago or so, I decided I'm gonna see what it takes to move forward and actually make a business.
Aiken City Limits Festival, sponsored by Atlantic Broadband, housed at Highfields Event Center on the All-Star Tents and Events stage, provided an opportunity for the Aiken Board of Realtors to bring together investors and citizens to collect their ideas on how Aiken will thrive. The Aiken Board of Realtors Idea Collaborative empowered citizens to share their visions for the future. A key part of the future is the youth, and how opportunity and entrepreneurship will intersect for them in Aiken. And here we have Christopher Emanuel giving us a clear idea of what the future can be.
We're talking about opportunity zones and how Aiken is ripe for opportunity. And one thing that Christopher knows well is you can't have opportunity and you can't have a future without the youth. And so Christopher, can you tell me and tell everybody in Aiken what you're doing with the lab and creating opportunity?
So I'm subcontracted between the Department of Juvenile Justice and Second Baptist Church, and we're located at 1151 York Street, the old Bilo facility. And the Teen After School Center, we're geared towards exposure. So we want to be able to expose our young kings and queens to educational opportunities such as STEM. We want to expose them to entrepreneurship. We want to expose them to fashion, the importance of living off of the land, and in turn what it does is it puts us in a posture to have real conversations and safe conversations to find out exactly what it is that they need. But also on the flip side, we're able to build relationships with their families and the community, and what we're noticing is that they want to be involved and they want better for themselves.
So it becomes a family affair.
Absolutely.
Entrepreneurship becomes a family thing.
Absolutely.
And so as we see Aiken moving into a new series of adventures with the next 20 years of Aiken's future, having those entrepreneurs move forward not only as individuals but as a family unit and then as a community unit.
Absolutely.
How do you see that playing out? Like, where would be the place in your mind you could play that out in Aiken if we took a block and changed it and made it an opportunity area? Where would you put that?
Honestly, any block, I would love to see an opportunity where we have maybe a convenience store or a store that's strictly employed by our young kings and queens, teaching them how to manage, teach them the logistics, teaching them how to market. Honestly, any block in this community would be really essential to the development of our young kings and queens.
And taking that idea of apprenticing, we have a lot of indie arts movement going on in Aiken with music and with fashion and with communications and art in general and homemade products. Is that something that you see in the future, having an apprenticeship set up with the Kings and Queens at the lab?
Absolutely. And one of the unique things is they laid the tile. They put the painting on the wall. They did the wiring. So they're actually already exposed to it. They're building up the office area. They're building the studio. They're analytic managers. They're going to be designing their own clothing brand.
So Aiken has this, South Carolina has a huge textile heritage, and one of the people we met out at the Highfields Entrepreneur Village were these twin girls who've taken old remnant denim fabrics, and
Right.
they've refurbished these heavy-duty sewing machines, and they've created all this line of clothing. They're custom-made pants, skirts, dresses,
Oh, wow.
aprons, like really cool handbags and sort of belt bags, and just a great creative vibe that they have going on. Would you see that being like the next step, like taking what the foundation that the kids get at the lab with their family support and the community support? The next logical step would be maybe moving into a light manufacturing facility where they can make that creativity happen, and then we start marketing it across the internet or
Absolutely.
through markets like today.
You know, what we're doing is we're training them and developing them. And if we can get establish the businesses, create the businesses, and employ them with those opportunities, then it would take, they want better, you know? They want to provide for their families. So this is something that is tangible that they can grab onto and live as the prosperous citizens that, you know, they are.
And this is a partnership between Second Baptist
Right.
and the Department of Juvenile Justice.
Right.
Do you see a role that the city of Aiken can play, or that the technical college or the university can play in making this a long-term sustainable mission?
Absolutely, providing them with those certifications and, you know, those trades, and it's easy for them to come out of those trades and be making at the minimum of $60,000 to $100,000. So our technical schools and our community plays a big role in building relationships with them and letting them know that we're here to help them. I think that if people step outside the comfort zone and build relationships with our young kings and queens, they can actually come out and see what it is they're doing, see how, you know, they're learning, then, you know, they can take a chance and say, you know what, regardless of where he comes from, I'm willing to take a chance on him because I know he's willing to work. And one of the things that I realized, you know, even within, you know, the area, a lot of our young kings have never been to downtown Aiken before. You know, we went to Mellow Mushroom, you know, last night, and, you know, they were in awe. They didn't even know, you know, it was down there. So what is that? That means that, you know, there's a lack of communication, there's a lack of exposure. You know, it's not welcoming, you know, for them. They don't feel as if it's inviting for them. So again, going back to the point of relationships and building those relationships and showing them, hey, you know, we're here to help you. That's where the community, that's where the city can really bring forth the change that is happening today.
So connecting Aiken, connecting
Absolutely.
people,
Absolutely.
creating long-term relationships.
Absolutely.
I know that the reason I got involved in a lot of things recently has been what I've seen with the blessing boxes, and that's how I think you and I
Right.
came to know each other. And a whole part of that has been the Aiken Mosaic project that the Chamber of Commerce did. And so many of us in that project felt like we needed the next step. Well, what's the next step? And do you feel like the lab is a natural next step for that chamber group to get behind? Because it comes from so many different places. I mean, you got scientists, you have teachers, you have philanthropists that are a part of that group. That's the next logical step is to support some of
The youth. You can't have a movement, you know, without the youth. We have to be able to take care of those who will one day be taking care of us. But, you know, the next step again is building relationships with the young kings and queens that we have coming within the lab, and, you know, each one teach one. You know, I would love to see 100 entrepreneurs mentor just one, you know, young king and queen.
So I know that Aiken Rotary Club has
Right.
talked to you about creating a mentorship program
Absolutely.
and working with the lab. The Association of Realtors has really gotten involved in opportunity zones and how they can empower the community for its next phase, and creating the Idea Collaborative and coming up with just input from all the citizens. A lot of that input centered around youth-related things. So if the lab is perfect, like
Right.
fast forward 5 years, the
Okay.
lab's in place and everything's great. What's the next thing after the lab that you see?
That is a great question. What I would like to see is it come to a point where we have relationships established, right? We're bridging a gap and we're working together, right? So the next step for us as, you know, a whole is uplift. We have to, continue to inspire and engage and pull our young kings and queens into these opportunities continuously. It has to be consistent, We have to also be prepared for the change that's about to come. We don't necessarily know what's going to happen. We can prepare for the worst, and we can also, hope for the best. But our job is to show them that, they're valued, they're worthy, and we're always going to be here. And this is your community. It's our job to take care of the community. So I would like to see all of our young kings and queens, all of us as a whole, continuing to prosper, come together, and taking care of our community. That's it. That's all.
What's the best way for us to communicate to people in general, do you think? Is it Instagram, Twitter, Facebook? Is it the newspaper? Is it all of the above? Is it Bella magazine, which reaches a cross section of the community? Is it podcasts or YouTube? I mean, what's that magic?
That's another great question.
Magic.
It's everybody. It just depends on who you're trying to serve. The social media, the newspaper, Bella magazine, Uplift. We have to utilize all of those entities.
We really need to sort of change the paradigm of how people think, maybe. And I've noticed that we have established a lot of things based on an old precept. The idea that everybody gets paid every 2 weeks, that everybody works for a parent company that's going to give you a retirement, that's going to, so credit companies and banks and mortgages, everything is related to a very old paradigm. And I think it's time to remind the establishment that we are an entrepreneur-based society, America across the whole, with small businesses, and that we aren't just manufacturing and you punch your clock and you're going to build this product, but which we have a lot of, and thanks to so many people who brought manufacturing back to America. But I think that we have a lot of entrepreneurs out there. We have a lot of self-employed people, and
absolutely.
So maybe it's a regulatory change that has to happen. And I know that you, in the other hat that you wear, you went through changing the way the regulations are about parents and parents' rights.
Right.
How challenging is that?
Your career is what you paid for. Your calling is what you made for. So it's something that just comes natural for me. You can't change anybody. You can only add value to people, and that's what we're doing here. We're exposing them and adding value to them and giving them healthy choices to choose from. And in turn, they're able to be successful and really provide solutions, And being an entrepreneur, I always say we want to create employers and not employees, right?
Right.
So in the midst of that, they can begin to focus on their legacy, working for their last name and taking care of their families.
One of the things I've seen in working with a lot of the nonprofits in the area is that transportation is such a hurdle for so many people. And I am excited that the Council of Governments expanded the Best Friend Express. They added that afternoon route, so it does go until the afternoon into the evening. And I think if we get more community support behind advertising the Best Friend Express, letting people know that you can get from Aiken to Augusta on the Best Friend Express. Yeah, and you can flag it down on the side of the road, and it'll pull over, and it's got 3 routes, and you can look them up on your phone, and you can catch one of the Best Friend Expresses as it goes down Whiskey Road or goes down Hampton Avenue, or it goes down Highway 1. It's one of those things I don't think people in Aiken realize, and transportation is such a huge hurdle to success. So I really hope that we can find ways to share with the community different resources that are out there that people may not know, like Best Friend Express. Just hail it down, the little white bus with the green Best Friend Express at the outside. You can hail it down and the guy will pull over and pick you up. And they're just some resources that people don't know that we have, I think. With the opportunity zones that we've been talking about, the city actually has a demolition fund where you can apply to have a building torn down and the site prepared for a new building to go there, and the city will share in the costs of that because they want to encourage infill development. There are a lot of programs out there. There's a facade grant program that the city has that a lot of people don't know about, that have businesses in the city that you can apply for the facade grant, and they'll come in and they'll help you fund new awnings or new doorways or new windows, new signage. So those are some programs I think people don't know that are out there. But a lot of people may not know about the lab either. So it's good
Right.
to get the story out about the lab, but also those other things that maybe help people achieve those dreams of their storefront for the first time, or the idea that you can get that job in Augusta because you do have the transportation to get
Right.
there. So Christopher, if you wanted to highlight one thing that's important about Aiken, or that you love about Aiken, or that's a really good thing about Aiken, what would it be?
Our young kings and queens, they are hungry for opportunity and they want to be the best that they can possibly be. However, they have, I don't like to say at risk. I'm not a fan of at risk, but they're economically challenged. But if we educate them and we expose them and we provide them with the resources and the tools and the opportunities, they will go to the next level. So when I say they're hungry, they're ready to grow.
So that's an invitation to any business out there that's looking for an apprentice or wants to engage in the community and connect with the next generation of entrepreneurs to reach out to you
Absolutely.
and say, hey, look, this is what we're doing.
Absolutely.
So, Christopher, you are going to be back in November when we have our next phase
Absolutely.
talk, right?
Thanks for having me. It's an honor and a privilege. Like, it means a lot. Just showing the work that's being done here in Aiken. I say it all the time. Aiken, South Carolina is literally going to be the blueprint that every state will follow in unification. So Aiken is a beautiful place.
So, Christopher,
All right.
thanks for being here.
Thank you.